Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this class on Verbling. My name is Amy and today's class is going to be a speaking class, and our topic today is advice. So we're going to talk about advice from all angles. Do you take advice? Do you listen to advice? And whose advice do you listen to, if any? Do you think giving advice to people is useful or not? And what kind of advice would you give in certain situations to certain people? So it's going to be a good class to practice your speaking with us today. Do come along in. I believe there are a couple of free slots left in this class if you would like to join us. Before we start talking about our topic today, we're going to meet the students. And before that, I'm going to tell you about a few things that can help you here with your time with us on Verbling. So the first one is my Facebook page. The link there is there for you in the chat box. If you would like to go ahead and click on that link, what you'll see is my Verbling Teacher Facebook page, which is a great place to just informally connect up with me or other students, to share things that you find during the week that might be of use or help to me or other students, to see what I'm putting there, and just to kind of chat informally about stuff that's going on related to Verbling or English learning or teaching. The other useful page for you is my Verbling Teacher page. So the link for that is just underneath. You can go ahead to my Verbling Teacher page and see a bit more about me as a teacher. You can also see my calendar. So what you'll find is upcoming classes. That's the classes that will be coming up in the next week or two. What they're about, in case you'd like to book a slot. And if you are interested in finding out what's coming up with me, then click on the follow button, which is that blue button under my name, and you'll receive automatic notifications to save you having to keep going to check out the website. You can also write me a message if you've got any questions about anything, you want to find out more about tutoring or whatever, then do write me a message on the using the Verbling messaging feature. And you can see also my timetable. So if you are interested in a private tutoring session, then you'll see my timetable there. You can see if any slots suit you. I look forward to meeting you, and sometimes those sessions are a really good way to improve something specific, maybe work towards an exam that's coming up. Just focus on something that you particularly want to focus on, rather than the general nature of English improvement that we target during our classes here. So, with all that behind us, let's say hi and see who we've got this morning, or this evening for you guys, to talk with us about advice. So let's say hello to Johnny. Hello.
Hey, long time no see. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Johnny?
Pretty good. Thank you for asking. And I was pretty excited to join this class because it's something that it really interested me. So,
Good.
yes, I hope we can have
I'm very glad to hear that, Johnny. Can you tell me why? Why did it interest you particularly? Do you have a reason?
Yes, I do. Actually, I am working as a volunteer in a website for the depressed people, and sometimes they want to talk to someone, so they come to us and they start to talk about their lives, their problems, and as soon as I have a chance, I give them advice if they ask me to. So it's kind of cool. I like to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely. Did you have to do like a training course to take on that role?
Sort of. I mean, it was not a big deal actually, because it depends on the problems that people have. You needed to transfer them to a professional, when they are talking about the medication, this sort of thing. But when they just wanted to have someone to talk to, they stay there and listen to their problems and everything. And I hope, I like to make them feel better. So sometimes when they ask me for advice, I give them something that I think it's gonna be good for them. So they really, appreciate that, and I am so grateful for that, to make them feel better.
Wow, that's amazing, Johnny. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm sure that we can have a good discussion about that today, because I think it's an interesting topic, how to help people, and I'm very interested in that job. One of my best friends has done a similar thing over here. She had to do a training course, and she said it was very rewarding, but also quite taxing. Like, it took a lot out of her. She often felt like quite drained after a shift doing it, because talking to people who are going through difficult times, you know. When you feel empathy for them, you can end up being tired. But she said it was a really good experience, so that's interesting. Anyway, welcome to the class. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Okay. Who else do we have here? We have David. Hello, David. How are you doing? Are you there, David? No? Maybe he's logged in and gone to get a coffee, which is a great idea. Let's say hello to Kako instead. Are you there, Kako?
Hello, Amy.
Hi again.
I'm well, thank you.
Excellent. Me and Kako were just in my previous class talking about pickpockets. So, Kako, you can start this class. Can you give the class any advice for avoiding being pickpocketed?
It's a good subject. Pickpocket, as we saw on the last class, pickpockets are people that practice robs on the streets, stealing objects from purses, from the pocket of the clothes of people. Are people very skillful to deviate the attention of their victims in order to capture their personal objects like smartphones, jewels, worth objects.
Valuable objects. Yeah.
Valuable objects. In order to avoid to be victim of these criminals, I would advise that people keep attention, keep an eye on their personal objects, like purses, like notebooks, tablets, smartphones, jewels, watches, and having one eye at the back of their heads.
Very good, Kako.
I don't remember exactly the idiom, but it means that people have to have attention around them, not straight on, not only straight. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you. Great. All right. So we've all learned something from the article we read last class. So let's see if David's there. Hello, are you there, David? No? Okay. Well, we'll say hello.
Yeah.
Hi, you are there. Hi, David. I was wondering if you were there or not.
Yeah, my connection is not. This is low, teacher. Sorry about that.
No problem. David, we're going to be talking about advice today. And Kako's just given us some advice on avoiding being pickpocketed. So we're going to start off, guys, with a question about general advice. do you, in general, do you listen to advice? Do you find advice from other people helpful or not? In a very general sense, are you the type of person who asks for advice and listens to it, or do you prefer just to think of your own ideas? Let's ask David first of all. David, what would you say?
No, teacher, for me, I think the advice are very good tool for have better experience in my life. Yeah, I think advice are very important because
Okay.
they are from people that have more experience than you.
Mhm.
And yeah, the people that their advices is more knowledge.
Yeah.
Uh, yes.
Absolutely. Good answer. Great answer. Thank you, David. Let's ask the same question to Johnny. Johnny, do you take advice? Do you usually?
Well, when it comes to advice, I try to make sure if the person that is giving me advice had have passed for some situation that I am facing, because
Mhm.
people like to give advice, but they most of them not even experience the situation that I am experiencing. So I try to make sure if they passed through something similar, and if they did good with that, I try to take their advice from them. But if the person did not pass for the same situation as I am facing, I try to not follow because I try to take on my own, because most of the time it didn't work for us.
Good point. Really good point. So it's better to check. Has this person who's giving me advice actually experienced this thing before? Because if they
Yeah,
haven't, how can they know any more than me?
yeah,
Yeah, that's
because
a.
people
Mhm.
people like to talk, oh, you should do this, you should do that, but at the same time they don't even know if what they could do if they were passing for something similar, so
Yeah.
they like to talk what they should be doing instead of what they should do if they were facing the same situation. So it's kind of harder to to trust them,
Yeah, for sure. A good word for you to use there, Johnny, might be speculate. Speculation means like talking about something that you actually have no idea about, but you're just imagining what you would do, or you're imagining what it could be like, right?
Yes, exactly.
So it's not particularly helpful if they're just speculating. Agreed. Let's ask Kako. Kako, do you take advice from people? Do you think it's helpful?
Can you repeat, teacher, the question?
Sure. The question is, in general, do you listen to advice? Do you find advice helpful, or do you prefer to think of your own way through things or your own ideas?
I I listen the devices if someone like to give me an advice. I respect, but I filter them. Um, I think about them and select them. And if they are useful, I can adopt adopt them.
Mm.
But usually um, I am not a frequent um, taker of devices. And generally I don't offer devices um, unless a people um, unless
Yes,
someone ask for them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I do that too.
Okay. That was going to be my next question, guys. So you've already answered that, Kako. Well done. So you generally don't offer advice, but if somebody asks you, you will, right? Johnny, you say you agree with that.
Yes, I do. Like as I told you earlier, I has working like a volunteer to listen people's problems. So, in the most of the time, people just want to talk about their problems, But I am sure that they have stuff in mind to do about them, So they don't are looking for harder to guides or advice that is gonna make them move forward, So like the most of the time they just want to talk about their problems because it's something that it's upsetting them, But when they ask me for advice, if they ask me stuff like, "What would you do if you were in my spot?" So I like to, I take the situation of the people, and based on that, I try to make a conclusion on something that I could be doing if I was facing the same situation, So I try to be really careful with that because I can be influenced someone to do something that I don't know if I would be doing if I was in the same situation that they were. So I try to make sure if I am giving the right advice, but I let they know that it's something that I would do, but it's something that they needed to do. They don't need to do what I am saying. I'm just saying what I would be doing if I was facing the same situation. You got my point?
Yeah.
So I try to be careful with that, and I tell them you don't need to follow my advice. It is something that I would do if I was in your situation. But you actually don't need to follow that. You need to think a little bit about yourself, about your problem. You needed to evaluate, and based on that, you needed to come in a conclusion.
Johnny, it sounds like you're great at your job.
Yeah, I think
just
I am.
said the same thing to you in the chat box, I've just noticed. But yeah, wow, that's a really good point. I think I really like that what you just said. You give advice if people ask for it, but you also remind them that they don't have to take that advice and that they need to think about their own situation. I think that's something I'm going to try and do from now on too. Thank you. Let's ask David. David, do you offer advice to people?
No, teacher, I don't like it.
You don't like offering advice?
No, because I don't know. I don't want to be like, I don't know how to speak, how to explain. But no, I prefer not be in the life of the people. Yeah.
Fair enough.
For me, it's better. It's like far, not very close.
Okay. All right, so we've all come up with slightly different answers so far, which is interesting. So we'll go back to the first question, receiving advice from people. Are people, say, how can I put this? In your life, are there certain people whose advice you value a lot or say more than others? For example, if your father gives you advice, is that something you should really listen to for you, as opposed to your best friend? Or would you be more likely to listen to your best friend than your father? Is there somebody who really influences you a lot in your life that you always listen to their advice? Let's ask Kako first of all. What do you think, Kako?
I am very much reserved, and generally I tried to make decisions based on my own judgment. Yeah, but on the job, for example, I ask for advices from my boss, from my colleagues. I discuss with them about the better solution for a working subject. But on the personal life, I generally doesn't ask for advices. Sometimes I speak with my mother, my father, my sisters that are really dear person. They are very very heartful, uh, very heartful people, very
Mm-hmm.
nice with me. Yeah,
All
people
right.
that I can uh, that I can trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So in general, you ask for advice more in your work life than you do in your personal life.
No, no. In my
No?
on my at in my job, I don't discuss any personal question.
Yeah.
I
But
am totally focused on the job.
yes,
Yeah.
that's not what I meant, Kako. What I meant was if you have problems at work, work-related problems, then you ask advice from your boss, etc. But in your personal life, you tend to just try and make your own decisions more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, when I said about advice on the job, I said
Hmm.
exactly about the routine, the
Hmm.
the job routine, about the solution of subjects in order to to make a better the best service for our clients,
Hmm.
how to be more effective on the
Yeah.
job, focusing on the results,
Hmm.
yeah, methods of job, of working,
Yeah.
yeah,
I understand. All
exactly
right.
about that.
Okay. Let's ask David. David, is there somebody in your life who you always listen to, that you always take advice from?
I think my parents,
Your
uh,
parents? Hmm.
yeah, sometimes, well, many times they give me advices for everything in my life. They are always like advising me about that. Give me many advice about job, study, life, uh, clean my bedroom.
Clean your bedroom.
Yeah, yeah, advice about everything. But sometimes, yeah, I listen to advice, and sometimes I don't listen.
Sometimes you ignore it.
Yeah, sometimes I ignore the advice. Yeah, I think
All right.
the advices from
Mhm.
the parents are very good, are the best. But, but sometimes I am lazy.
You're lazy.
Okay.
Fair enough. Very honest answer, David. Why do you think your parents are so good at giving advice? What makes them good at that
For me?
for you?
Ah, okay. Um, okay. I think the answer is like it's very logical because parents always want your happiness or benefits for you.
Yep,
Like
want the best for you. Hmm.
yeah, they always want the best for you, and sometimes yeah, you don't want that, or you what you see the advice like it's not don't care, it's not important. But perhaps in the future you will realize that you could put more attention to that advices.
Yeah, pay more attention to. Pay more
Yeah,
attention to.
pay
Yeah.
more attention. Mhm.
Good points, David. Okay. Johnny, tell us, is there somebody in your life who you always listen to?
Well, you know what? There is no person that and that I try to follow the advices, especially my family, because my family, well, I don't have a good relationship with my dad, and my mom just passed away, and so because they had a really hard time when they were younger, But I mean, when we're talking about advice, as I told you earlier, I don't ask for advice. But when they try to give me away advices, that is no problem. I try to listen to them. But when I am trying to come in a conclusion about something that is going on in my life, I try to make decisions on my own, just like Kaku said. I try to judge myself. I try to do things, but I don't let anyone influence my decisions. I listen to the advices. I think it is important to listen to others' perspective, but you needed to make sure, because not everybody else knows your problem better than you know. So
Yeah,
you know what I'm
for
saying?
sure.
So they can give, oh, I would do this if I was you. I would do that if I was you. But you know what you are passing through. You know what you needed to do. But it's always good to listen to others' perspective. But the decisions that you are going to take, you needed to take on yourself. You needed to take based on your situation because you know better than everybody else. So you needed to be really careful with that, and you don't need to let anyone influence your decisions. But to listen to advice is important because you always needed to listen to others' perspectives, and I think that is really important when it comes to advice.
All right, I like that, Johnny, and it kind of springs to mind that even if you open your mind and listen to other people's perspectives, as you just mentioned, even if you don't agree with them or you don't take on their advice, it can sometimes lead you to something that you hadn't previously thought of, perhaps, for yourself. So it can still be helpful in that kind of a way, maybe.
Yes, sure, for sure. I mean, it's not a problem when I mean, for me, it's not a problem when people gives advices away. Even then you don't ask for it. But just like I told you, you know better than everybody else what you are passing through. So you don't need to let people influence your decisions. You needed to be really careful with that. But if the person's advice is similar to what you are thinking about doing with your problems, so you can follow them. You know what I'm saying? Like if because there are some things in life that people just say that it don't make any sense, like the advice forgive. So the person just give the advice. Oh, you needed to forgive someone. So you ask them, what was the last time that you have problems forgiving someone? So because they like to say things like that, but they have problems and follow their own advice. So if they have problems, so why are they giving advices to others? So it doesn't make sense. You need to be really careful with that and make sure that you are not being influenced by anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to say hello to another student who's arrived, and my screen keeps freezing, so I can't actually see who it is. Just a moment. Sorry,
Adriana.
guys. Adriana, thank you, Johnny. Hello, Adriana, can you hear me?
Yes.
Welcome to the class. We've been talking about advice, and so far we've just been discussing whether or not we're likely to take advice from other people, whether or not we're likely to offer advice, and who we listen to when they do give us advice. So that's our topic for this class, but we're going to move on to another question now. So I'll come to you first, Adriana. Does anyone in this class have children? Just want to ask.
Yeah, me.
You do? All right, well, there you go. Perfect. Adriana, if you had to tell me the most important advice that you want your children to listen to you about, whether or not they do is another question, okay? But if you had to choose 3 things, perhaps, or 2, or however many you like, what are the most important things that you want to transmit to your children about life or whatever you like? Can you think of anything?
Well, yeah. I think, well, I always say to my son that it's important to study. And it's important to do something else besides studying. Do something that you like to do, something artistic or something that you enjoy. And be honest. And what else? Be happy.
Great. Okay, that's wonderful. And does he listen to you?
I'm sorry?
Does your son listen to your advice?
Well, I think, yeah, why not? I think sometimes children, some of them, they don't like to study, but it is important. And for me, it's important part of their life, because they can have fun, they can have friends, and I don't know, do something else, but their only responsibility is study, and that's it. And they can study, do homework, and then they can do whatever they want. They can watch TV or play with their friends, do something else. But my son likes to how can I say, to comply with the homework, and that's it. It's not that something that he enjoys a lot, but he's doing good. He's doing great.
Well, that's excellent to hear. I'm really pleased, Adriana. Thank you for sharing those little helpful hints. I'm going to ask Kako now. Kako, you don't have children, but if you did, what do you think you would try to give them advice about?
I have one
you do have
son. Yes.
You have a son. All right, sorry. Yeah. Apologies.
I totally agree with Adriana. I only would add a practice that I have with my son, that to orientating him to earn his life, to earn his life from his work, to work, the necessity of work, to be disciplined. Okay, disciplined. To work for, that is a necessity of the life of all of us. But I totally agree with her to studying, to be honest, and to be happy.
All right, yes. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kako. Let's ask David. David, before I launch into telling you don't have kids, I just want to check. Do you have any children?
Unfortunately, no.
No? All right. So theoretically or hypothetically, what advice do you think you would give your children if you had children?
My classmate said good advice. Besides, don't use drugs.
Don't use drugs. Good. Yep.
Yeah, study a lot. It's very important for life. Yeah. Learn about experience of other people.
Okay.
Enjoy your life. Be a good person. Yeah, be kind with other people. Be friendly with other people. Yeah. Have a lot of friends and girlfriend. If it's a boy.
Yeah.
That kind of.
All right, wonderful, thank you. And Johnny, I'm going to ask you finally. You don't have children, do you?
No, I am too young for that.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
So what advice, if you ever have children, what advice are you going to give them?
Well, I would like to give them an advice that I didn't got from my parents. I mean, do whatever makes you feel happy, like if you if you succeed in life, I want to succeed with you. If you want to fail, if you fail in life, I want to fail with you as well. So don't be afraid of anything and anyone, because sometimes parents want their children to do the same things that they did when they were young, but not always it is something that kids would like to do in their lives, you know. So to make sure that they will be happy, parents gotta let they do something which makes them happy, you know. If it's gonna work or not, I don't know, you know. Probably it can work for them, or probably it cannot, but the thing that they realize that they had a support from their parents, you know. So that's the most important thing. You need to support them in every decision that they would like to make in life. So it is their decisions, you know. You might think, oh, they are too young, they needed to do something that I did that worked to me, but you needed to realize that it's not always something that they would like to do with their lives, you know. You need to support them whatever decision they make. So I think that is the most important thing, and something that I came in a conclusion as I am at 20 years old, and it was an advice that I never gave it from my parents, and something that I would like to, you know, to have from them, and unfortunately I didn't. So it's something that I will give to my children. It's something that I will teach them.
All right, thank you, Johnny. That's great. It leads me straight into another question, and this might be a similar answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If you could go back in time to some point in your life, maybe when you were a kid, maybe when you were younger, a teenager, or however old, what advice would you give yourself? Is there a point in time where you think, I wish somebody had told me this when I was 10, or when I was 20 and trying to decide what to do at university, I wish somebody had told me this? Is there anything advice that you would give yourself if you could go back in time? So I'll ask Johnny first, and we'll go backwards this time.
Well, you know, I think that's the thing that I just told you. Don't be afraid of anyone and anything. You know, you might be you can fail 1,000 times in life, but you needed to get up and try to do that again. You know, you needed to try to create happiness, because it is, you know, sometimes we are so upset with the problems and that we are facing, but you needed to realize that after the rain, there is a rainbow. You needed to reach the happiness by facing the bad moments. So that's the advice that I would give to myself if I was my own parent. So it's something that I would like to say to myself. So.
All right, thank you, Johnny. Great. I'm learning a lot from you this lesson. David, what advice would you give yourself, or would you have given yourself at some point?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think it could be like, don't waste your time. It could be a good advice, because I used to waste my time in college very much, like, I don't know, doing stupid things like wasting my time playing pool, playing poker, go to many parties, drink, and for that thing I lose subjects in my college, and yeah, I lose semesters in my college.
Yeah.
And wasn't a good idea. Yeah. Other advice could be, why don't you study English before?
Yes, you should have joined Verbling a long time ago. Yep.
Yeah, why don't you search Verbling before?
All right. Great. Thank you, David. I like that one. Don't waste your time. I think that's something that lots of young people do and regret later on, for sure. Kako, what advice would you have given yourself if you could have?
I liked very much the devices of David's advice, and thought inspiring the devices from Johnny. Very inspiring. Very nice advices. If I returned in time, I had better initiate my English course before I would dedicate to develop my English skills, and I think I was I would be fluent in English, and maybe maybe in other languages, possibly, but I would like to share with you about a TED show that I watched with survival from the accident with the plane. That landed on the Hudson River.
Yes.
He said not to postpone anything, like David said.
Yep.
Only go in his personal life to be a good dad, a personal goal of him. No more, not having more negative energy, like fighting with familiars or friends or other people. Not to postpone, and to dedicate to your goals, and not having negative energy, not lost the energy of life, fighting, discussing nonsensical subjects. I thought good those advices.
That's interesting that you should bring that up, Kako. Did you come to my class that we did on that? Are you referring to that class? Or did you watch the video independently?
No, it was, I watched it in Lisa's class.
Ah, really?
Yes, on 5th July.
How interesting, because I also did a class on that very video not long ago too.
Yeah?
Because it's a great, yeah.
Have you used
the advice?
Yes. It's a good coincidence.
It is a coincidence.
A coincidence, yeah. Very nice.
All right, well, thank you for mentioning it, Kako. And if you haven't seen that video, look it up on YouTube, or TED Talks, sorry. It's a guy who was in the plane that landed on the Hudson River in New York. So it's very interesting. It's short, but really impactful. Agreed, Kako. Thank you. All right, let's ask Adriana. Adriana, what advice would you have given yourself if you could have?
More than advice, what I needed at that time was help. Because when I finished middle school, I stopped studying because nobody told me go to this school. It's not far. It's not expensive. So I didn't know where was the school. So I stopped studying, and then like I continue by working.
Oh.
And I realized that when I was when I grew up, I realized that school was like 20 minutes from my house. But we didn't like we weren't used to go out of the city, or we didn't take buses, we didn't have a car, so it was kind of difficult for me. So later when I grew up, I said, oh my goodness, the school is so near to my house. Nobody told me, nobody, it was kind of like disappointing. So I did study later, but I had to pay, so it was more expensive for me. But anyway, at that time, I didn't need any advice. I needed help. But anyway, how can I say, refreshing what Johnny said before. Well, he had said some good advices, or good advice, I'm sorry. And one thing that I wanted to tell him, that sometimes we as father, one of our how can I say, part of our job is to help our children. And I agree with you when you said that we have to give them some free, or allow them to make their choices. But also you had to take into consideration when they are like children or teenagers, if you let them do whatever they want, sometimes they can make wrong decisions. I totally agree with you that each person has to take their own, how can I say, their own path, or study what they want or not to study. And I agree with you. But imagine, let's say, oh, my son is, let's say, 10 years old and he doesn't want to study. I'm not going to allow him to do that. I have to. It's in his own good. It's in his own benefit. For example,
in his own interest. Yeah.
Imagine. He said, "Mommy, I don't want to go to school."
Well,
I'm gonna tell him, okay, tell me why. What is happening? What is wrong? Of course, I'm gonna try to find the best way to support him. But in real life, if you want to achieve something that is very necessary, well, at least here in Mexico is my country, at least something that you need is to study. If you aren't rich. If you are rich, of course you don't have to study. But if you aren't, and if you want to be somebody, of course, let's say that okay, I study high school, I don't want to go to university, but I want to study, like, let's say I want to be a painter, I want to do something, I would, how can I say go ahead, go for it, I'll help you, I'll do something, or I'll how can I say, do whatever you want. But if he is like, let's say 29, 18, or he has to have some age in order to me accept or his decisions when we are talking about education.
Yes, I totally understand that. And when I meant support our children and every decision that they would like to make in life, I meant exactly what you said. When they needed to achieve a certain age that they are capable enough to make decisions, like when they are 17 years old or passing through 18 years old. They needed to grow up first. So it's what I meant. But when they are they're 14 years old, 15 years old, and they are still going to high school, of course you needed to say to them, to tell them, you needed to study, you needed to keep focus on the studies. But when it comes to choose a career or get a kind of job, it is their decision. Like if you'd like them to get a job working with math, for example, and they don't like math, so it just, if I was a parent, I would tell to my children, oh, if you don't like math, and so don't accept the job. You're gonna find something else that you like to do in life. But it's exactly what I said. You said they needed to study, they needed to finish the high school, and whatever decision that they would like to make in life after that, it is their decision. You needed to support. If they fail or if they succeed, I don't know what it's gonna happen, but at least they realize that I was there for them. I supported them, and if they failed, it was not my fault, but I take them back. I think that is important.
Yeah, I understand, and I agree exactly. I believe that each person has to choose their career and say, this is what I want to do. I agree.
Yes, I mean, because I am seeing that because it's something that is happening in my family right now. I finished the high school. I am 19 years old. I am almost turning 20, and it's something that my dad keeps telling me is to get a job. And it's cost. You needed to get a job. You needed to get out of my house. They say sort of things to me like that, and sometimes it hurts a lot because he cares more about what he likes me to do than what I'd like to do to myself. I think it's not right. I mean, I want to do something and he wants me to do something else. So what he keeps telling me, oh, you needed to get a job and get out of my house. And I understand that. I needed to walk with my own foot. I understand that point. But the thing that he keeps telling me, sort of thing like this, it hurts me a lot. So I am trying to get a job and do what he's telling me to do, but it's not going to be something that I would tell to my children. I would support them in every decision that they would like to make, but they needed to reach a certain point that they are capable enough to make decisions, like 20 years old or 18 years old. So it's nothing, it is necessary to have a support in your family. When you have any support, it became worse. It's really difficult to move ahead when you have no support from your family, and I think that is important.
Yeah, I totally agree too. Yeah, I know.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for sharing that. And Johnny, yeah, I think you've inspired all of us this class, I have to say. I just want to say that probably your parents' attitude towards you right now is going to make you a better parent when you do eventually have children, if you do. So maybe try to keep that in mind. I know that that's certainly something that's happened to me as well, in different ways. But just to finish, we've just got 5 minutes, and what I want to ask you all is there somebody from your country, somebody in the history of your country, or possibly somebody who's alive right now, that is wise, that you feel is wise, and that has given advice to people or has spread the word about something? And tell me about them. That's what I would like to know. So can anyone, I'll ask Caco, first of all, from Brazil. Caco, is there somebody in the history of your country that has inspired you or given good advice? A Brazilian, a famous Brazilian?
A personality,
anybody. Anybody.
I think the people, I think people that have more inspired me were simple people, people from my own life, people like my parents. Simple working people that live their lives working honestly, in the simplicity, but they lived their lives in a way that that have always inspired me.
Inspired.
And
Inspired.
they've always inspired me. And I think they are going to inspire me all days of my life.
What a great answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kako. That's a great answer. I'm going to ask David. David, tell me, is there anyone from Colombia who has inspired you as a Colombian?
Oh, no, teacher. Actually, thinking, no, I can't find anyone, teacher.
Not
But
somebody who springs to mind.
yeah, just my family, just my parents, and the thing that from the thing that I get advice or kind of a guide for my life is the Bible. Sometimes I read the Bible, and I can see that the Bible give us good advice about life, about be a good person, and yeah, it's like a good guide for have a better life. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, David. Great answer. Let's ask Adriana. Is there somebody from Mexico? Or would you have to agree with Kako and David? It's people who are really your family and friends that inspire you.
Well, yeah, I agree with them also. Yeah. And how can I say? I remember people from other countries, for example, like Mahatma Gandhi. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and those kind, how can I say, like, I don't know the word, like, the people that live in the monasteries or
monks.
Yeah.
Or nuns, yeah.
Those I don't know. I would like to talk to somebody that is a monk.
Yep.
Because they live in a different level.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I'm sure they do live on a different level. Interesting. Thank you, Adriana. All right, Johnny, you can have the last word in this class. So tell us, is there anybody? Where are you from again?
I am from Brazil.
Brazil as well. All right. Is there anybody from your country, or would you have to agree with Kako? I see what you've typed there in the chat box.
I mean, the Brazilian people inspires me. I mean, we are people which suffers a lot by the government's decisions, you know, and even like that, we never give up, you know, to fight for our rights. So we are known as people which never give up, you know. So I think that is really important. It inspires me most. I can be suffering many problems. I can be dealing with bad situations in my life, but I would never give up to get better and, you know, get out of these bad times that I am facing. So the own population inspires me, the Brazilian population.
Great. What a great answer. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, all of you. It's been a pleasure talking to you about this subject today. I've learned more than you, I think. But if you do want to check out any of the English-related things that I've been noting down, don't forget to check the chat box before you leave class today. But well done on some great speaking, some very, very good answers to tricky questions. And I hope all of you take care, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much. I love it. It was great. And bye-bye, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Johnny.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye.